the 8th rate increase.
Another major bank failure.
The social media platform is simply now X.
Faces more than 100 years in prison.
2023 was a roller coaster for financial markets, businesses, and economies all around the world. So here are your biggest stories of 2023.
Fed's telling you pretty clearly, Anastasia, they do not want higher stock prices. And you know the old adage, don't fight the Fed.
Jerome Powell just gave that speech after the 8th rate increase this year, 25-point basis hike.
At today's meeting, the committee raised the target range for the federal funds rate by a quarter percentage point.
The numbers are out. Our March release of Consumer Price Index is up 0.1%. It really does now become an issue of spend, spend, spend.
The country could go into default for the first time in history if Congress does not take action to raise the debt ceiling, which hit $31.4 trillion Thursday.
Either we proceed quickly or the federal government will default for the first time ever.
Oil prices spiking on OPEC production cuts.
OPEC Plus had pledged repeatedly to hold output steady.
The United Kingdom has one of the worst inflation pictures in the world.
The process of getting inflation back down to 2% has a long way to go and is likely to be bumpy.
Silvergate Capital Corporate is now announcing their intent to wind down their operations.
All right, let's take another look at shares of Silicon Valley after hours. We have new reporting on companies pulling money out of the struggling bank.
Concerns growing over the stability of what was a tech-focused lender in the Valley. Many called it the backbone of Silicon Valley. It lost nearly $2 billion selling assets.
The biggest bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis, Silicon Valley Bank started the year with more than $200 billion in assets. Today, California regulators closed the bank and sent it into receivership.
Silicon Valley Bank finally is sold. It is being sold to First Citizens.
First Republic, a well-known regional bank, saw its stock drop nearly 50% yesterday after announcing a recent $100 billion drop in deposits.
Another major bank failure has shaken the U.S. financial system. Federal regulators' seizure of First Republic Bank comes less than 2 months after Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank collapsed.
JP Morgan assuming the deposits and assets from the company.
Turmoil that rocked US-based Silicon Valley Bank at the end of last week has now spread to Europe, with scandal-plagued Credit Suisse under attack after years of financial mismanagement.
Reports this morning that UBS is in talks to take over Credit Suisse.
The FDIC and the Treasury Department came in and they lifted the FDIC limits for the banks that went out of business. So now the question is, are they going to do that for everybody?
OpenAI saying the latest version of its primary large language model, GPT-4, exhibiting human-level performance on many professional tests. There is an AI app for that.
ChatGPT has become the talk of the town.
AI.
Artificial intelligence.
Generative AI.
I believe that there will be far greater jobs on the other side of this.
That's NVIDIA. The stock surging, nearing $1 trillion valuation on this spiking demand for its AI GPUs. NVIDIA's new entry into the $1 trillion valuation club, just the latest milestone in the AI boom.
We may need a new name or a new moniker for the big tech basket powering broader market gains this year. Bernstein suggests this morning the Magnificent Seven.
S&P Global found that just 7 companies were responsible for all the gains in 2023.
At Alphabet and its AI announcement, finally it did take the wraps off of its generative AI chatbot called Bard yesterday.
I got to try out the new Apple Vision Pro headset, the $3,500 headset that Apple will launch sometime in 2024.
We are incredibly proud to introduce Quest 3, the first mainstream mixed reality headset.
Morning, if you check your Twitter right now, you'll probably notice a pretty significant change here. The social media platform is simply now X.
X marks the spot where the little blue Twitter bird died.
So we're halfway through the year. A year which was supposed to be plagued by the most anticipated recession ever. A recession that never happened. In fact, the stock market year to date was up about 16%, but we still weren't quite out of the woods.
Breaking news here out of Moody's.
Yeah, Morgan, Moody's downgrading its outlook on the government of the United States.
Big news of the morning, though. Fitch, as you know, downgrading U.S. long-term credit to AA+ from AAA.
The U.S. national debt
crossed over $33 trillion for the first time ever yesterday.
Back in September, you said that the United States, you think, will be facing a debt crisis.
There's the big question of the supply-demand for bonds. In other words, the government produces a certain amount of bonds that are in light of, in size, that is equivalent of roughly the size of the deficit. That means they're going to have to sell a lot of bonds.
Is that one of the biggest reasons why interest rates are going up is because the government spends ambitiously.
Michael Burry, the investor who became famous for predicting the massive 2008 housing market collapse in the US, appears to have recently placed a big bet against the US stock market.
Shares of Novo Nordisk are up sharply this morning. The company said its anti-obesity drug Wegovy exceeded expectations in an important late-stage trial with regard to its ability to reduce the risk of having a major cardiovascular-related event.
This has now given Novo Nordisk the title of second largest company in Europe behind Louis Vuitton.
UAW's plans for the plants that it will plan on striking come midnight tonight if they do not reach an agreement with Ford, GM, and Stellantis.
Happening in another New York courtroom today, the trial of a man once known as the king of crypto.
Bankman-fried is accused of money laundering and several counts of fraud and could face decades in prison if convicted. He has pleaded not guilty.
Basically saying he lied to the world, committing a massive fraud, taking billions of dollars from thousands of victims.
The ex-girlfriend of Sam Bankman-Fried testified in his fraud trial Tuesday, saying the former crypto boss directed her to commit crimes.
Gary Wong has already pleaded guilty to fraud. The prosecution jumped right into it today, asking, did you commit financial frauds while working at FTX? He said, yes. Do you see any of the people you committed fraud with in the courtroom? He stood up, he spotted Sam Bankman-Fried and said, yes.
Sam Bankman-Fried knew about a $13 billion hole in customer funds.
And the defense is set to kick off witness testimony this week. And we just found out today that Sam Bankman-Fried himself is among those witnesses.
It was a tense day in court for FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried, who took the stand for his cross-examination in his federal fraud trial.
She then pulls up a message Sam himself wrote and had him read it out to the jury, saying, yeah, just PR. Regulators. Having Sam himself actually repeat it back to the judge and jury just encapsulates this story so well.
A jury has found FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried guilty. Bankman-Fried faces more than 100 years in prison.
We have some sad news to share. Charlie Munger, Berkshire Hathaway's vice chairman and Warren Buffett's longtime business partner and close friend, has died at the age of 99.
Much better to aim low. I did not intend to get rich. I wanted to get independent. I just overshot.
Charlie Munger has had a big impact on me, moving me toward looking for wonderful companies at fair prices rather than fair companies at wonderful prices.
Munger's investment partnership produced a 19.8% compound annual return.
And Charlie Munger is one of the clearest, sharpest thinkers of our time.
Prudent, sensible, moral duty to be reasonable. More important than anything else. More important than being rich, more important than being important. I was not a prodigy or anything like that, but I was a prodigy in having adult interests. I was interested in what worked and what didn't and why. I'm a natural contrarian.
Every time I'm with Charlie, I'll get at least some new slant on an idea that causes me to rethink certain things.
You can be very deserving and very intelligent and very disciplined, but there's also a factor of luck that comes into this thing. And the people who get the outcomes that seem extraordinary, they're the people who have discipline and intelligence and good virtue, plus a hell of a lot of luck. It's amazing how if you just get up every morning and keep plugging and have some discipline and keep learning, and it's amazing how it works out okay.
The S&P rising nearly 0.6% today, closing less than a percentage point from its all-time high. The benchmark index is now up nearly 16% from its October lows.
They lowered their 2024 Fed funds outlook to 4.6%, forecasting on average 80 basis points of rate cuts next year.
Prices went up 3.1%.
Bitcoin jumps back above $42,000 as the cryptocurrencies rally carries on.
Well, Taylor Swift, her Eras tour has been credited with boosting the economies of every city she performs in.
2023 was one of the best years for financial markets on record. The S&P 500 is up over 20% as of recording this video. And because I know some of you like to know how I'm personally performing as well, year to date, my investment portfolio is up about 35%, and my individual stocks, which I select extremely carefully, rose about 45%. Since inception in 2017, my individual picks have made 30% per year compared to 13% from the US stock market. And just one more stat for you, my YouTube channel here, which I've been growing for almost 6 years now, achieved about 5.5 million views this year, a 200% increase from last year. I really worked hard this year to improve the quality of my videos through learning new editing techniques, to improving my research and scripting process, and I'm just really glad that this year it's translated into more people watching and enjoying my content. Thank you to everybody who watches my content, has left a like, leaves comments, is subscribed. You are the people who make what I do possible, who allow me essentially to do the thing that I love day in, day out. Have a great holiday period and New Year's celebrations, and I'll see you in 2024.